Welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the first trailer for Supergirl. Now, this movie is a very faithful adaptation of what I think is one of the best superhero comics written in the past 20 years. So, we're going to talk about the comic, this film, and the characters they're introducing who could be part of a much bigger story that the DCU is telling.
Wait, I thought Supergirl was dead.
Well, it's complicated, so let me explain a little bit of Supergirl's history from the comics, because that's going to help me to explain the excellent comic book, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bilky Evely. That comic is the basis for this movie. Supergirl first appeared in Action Comics 252 back in 1959, and she was created by Otto Bender and Al Plastino. Her birth name is Kara Zor-El, and her cousin is Superman, Kal-El, and like her cousin, she survived the explosion of Krypton, but in a much more horrific way. See, she's actually chronologically older than Superman. She remembered holding him when he was a baby. See, before Krypton exploded, her father, the engineer Zor-El, was able to save their entire city, Argo City, by placing a dome over it and launching it into space. However, the rigors of space slowly killed off all of her people. In the original stories, meteorites pierced their dome, but in the newer comics, the soil turned to kryptonite as they approached yellow suns, and the city was floating adrift in space. So Kara was forced to watch her entire civilization die slowly in front of her, and she buried nearly everyone that she loved. Now, her dad did build her a rocket to escape to Earth, but because of suspended animation, she's just 16 when she lands and meets Superman. He sets her up in a boarding school, and eventually she's adopted and officially becomes Supergirl. Now get this, Supergirl did die in Crisis on Infinite Earths issue 7. This was a huge landmark issue, and the creators did this because they wanted to reboot the DC Comics universe and make Superman the only survivor of Krypton. Now, a few years later, a shape-shifting alien called Matrix took the form of Supergirl, but then in 2004, Jeff Loeb said enough is enough and brought back Kara Zor-El as the one and only Supergirl. Now, there have been other reboots of the character over the years, but that's the gist of what you need to know leading up to this comic book, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Now, this is an exceptional book by the great Tom King, who is also an advisor for this new DC universe that James Gunn has created. The book is narrated by a woman called Ruthie, who is also seen in the trailer. Ruthie's father is killed by a man named Krim of the Yellow Hills, and she wants to hire a mercenary to bring him to justice.
So it's True Grit?
Yes, this story is True Grit in space.
What are you doing with a pistol like that?
Well, I intend to kill Tom Chaney with it.
But there's a wrinkle here. Ruthie and Krim run across Supergirl, who is on this other planet to get drunk for her birthday. You know, like we saw in Superman.
She likes to go and party on other planets, planets with red suns. Because of our metabolism, you can't get drunk on a planet with a yellow sun.
On a planet with a red sun, Kara has no power, so she has no resistance to alcohol and she can get drunk. And she wants to get drunk because she's tormented with PTSD from surviving the Holocaust of her people. But in spite of this, she has an inherent goodness throughout the book that inspires Ruthie to be a better person. Now, there's more to it than that, which we'll talk about as we go through the trailer.
Hey, person, I got you a present.
Aw, thank you, Doug. It's a picture of you. And also more pictures of you. Wait a minute, this is an Aura digital picture frame, isn't it?
It sure is.
I have always wanted one of these. If you guys ever struggle to find the right gift for somebody, especially close to the holidays, then you are done looking. Aura frames are the perfect holiday gift. It's personal, but not too over the top. So this is a digital picture frame that is so easy to use. You download the Aura app, connect to Wi-Fi, and select your photos. And for a gift, you can preload the photos before it ships and add a personal message.
I preloaded these photos, and the personal message is, I love you.
Thanks, buddy. You can also add your friends and family to the album so they can send you photos and videos straight from their phones all year long. Oh, look, Doug is sending me a photo right now of Tim Robbins in the Shawshank Redemption.
Get busy living or get busy dying, person.
Now, every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. So now, for a limited time, you can save on this perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter. And you do this by using the promo code ScreenCrush at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code ScreenCrush. Now, this deal is exclusive to viewers, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get yours in time for the holidays. And also, you can support the channel by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Now, back to what I was saying. Okay, so let's break this trailer down. The official synopsis says that Kara Zor-El is forced against her will to team up with an unlikely companion, probably Ruthie, after a ruthless enemy threatens her. Together, they go on an epic cosmic journey where Kara must, quote, confront her origins to find her own path as a hero. Now, that part is interesting because that's not really part of the original comic. I think that in this this movie, we're actually going to see Kara struggle with all of her trauma. So maybe at some point she has to return to whatever's left of Argo City for something that will save the day, that will then bring her story full circle and offer her some kind of emotional catharsis. So we start with Kara living in what I think is the ship she uses to travel to Red Sun planets. Krypto is sniffing at a vinyl record player, kickstarting the trailer song Call Me, which I'll talk about in a minute. Now Krypto follows the spilled alcohol to a trap door where the ship's engineering guts are, which is similar to the mechanics of the Millennium Falcon. So I love that the trailer starts with Krypto, the only main character to return from the setup film Superman. Remember, it turned out that Krypto was her dog and they were reunited at the end of the movie.
Where is my dog?
Krypto pees on a copy of the Daily Planet with 2 articles of note here. Superman, the big marquee hero, saves the nuclear power plant, while Supergirl gets lauded for saving a cat from a tree, which, by the way, this is taken from an actual scene in Superman 78. So maybe this is showing that on Earth, she just isn't as respected as her cousin. No wonder she's using the paper as a pee-pee pad for Krypto.
Yeah, you know, the Daily Planet isn't bad, but the Gotham Gazette uses really thick paper. It's more observant.
Good to know. Then she compliments him.
You managed to get most of it on the paper this time.
Which shows us that she is really living in squalor, which tells the audience that she is not some goody-goody all-American do-gooder like her cousin. She is getting loaded at a bar, and the empty shot glasses let us know that she has been at this a while and even called to mind the drunken arm wrestling scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. The bar even has a few fun Earth amenities like the disco ball and this alien jukebox.
Wait, does that mean that the disco ball started on another planet, or does this planet just adapt like Earth's disco ball?
I don't know. She says,
I, Kara Zor-El, hereby declare that 23 will be the best year yet.
And this will be a little bit different from the comics where she's turning 21. And in the comics, this bar is where she meets Ruthie after a mercenary tries to scam the little girl out of her father's sword. And then we hear the trailer song Call Me by Blondie. And notice that Kara is wearing a Blondie shirt underneath this trench coat, like she wears in the comic and like we saw at the end of Superman. So even though this is not a James Gunn film, it's directed by Craig Gillespie, it still does have his love for music in the DNA of this trailer. Kara owns both a record player and a Walkman. Now the song Call Me is originally from the movie American Gigolo, and its lyrics are basically saying, call me anytime for a good time, if you know what I mean.
Of course, to perform at children's birthday parties. Hilarious!
Exactly. And in this case, it's implying that Kara is available to help Ruthie upon her request, possibly to avenge her dad. After a few shots of Millie Alcock dancing, remember she was also young Rhaenyra on House of the Dragon, she tells Krypto,
It's not a very high bar to clear.
Ruthie says to her,
I didn't know any of you were still alive.
referring to how Kryptonians are an endangered species in the universe. Now, it'll be interesting to see how people in the galaxy view Kryptonians. In the older Superman comics, Krypton was a friendly, utopian society, and then after the 1980s reboot, they were reimagined as a cold, science-based society. But in the films, Jor-El has always been portrayed as this benevolent, almost godlike power.
I have sent them you, my only son.
But James Gunn flipped this on its head, instead saying that Kryptonians are D-bags who wanted Kal-El to colonize Earth and create a breeding farm.
Lord over the planet as the last son of Krypton.
Take as many wives as you can.
So in this universe, are the Kryptonians like the Viltrumites imposing their will on the universe? Or like in the Snyder films, were they isolationist and swore off space travel? Now I think that would make the most sense, or else, Kryptonians wouldn't be so rare in the universe. And then she says,
The gods are not that kind.
and this is a direct quote from issue 6 of Woman of Tomorrow, where she tells Ruthie about her history on Krypton and her parents' deaths. And then we see the formation of Argo City, and just like in the comics, it's protected by a bubble. As I said earlier, this was one of the last bastions for Kryptonian civilization, and it was created by Zor-El, who's Kara's father. And it looks like, just like in the comics, things don't go well for these survivors. We see a large funeral. Now, this could be for people who were lost in the original explosion of the planet, or it could be for the many, many deaths from kryptonite poisoning that happened afterwards. Notice everybody is wearing white robes, just like the robes that Jor-El and Lara wore in the Kryptonian message from the movie Superman. So these could be ceremonial robes, or maybe, like in the Richard Donner Superman movie, Kryptonians just wear the same thing all the time. We also saw a similar Kryptonian funeral procession in the landmark comic Adventures of Superman issue 500. So this is a comic from the early to mid 90s. After they killed Superman, they had his funeral, and then this issue marked the beginning of his return. Pa Kent sees Clark's soul in the afterlife when Kryptonians are trying to take him into the great beyond, and Jonathan has to help him fight for his life. Note, here we see the characters in white robes. Now I love how this new DCU is able to incorporate little details like this from an array of different comics from different eras. Now, Kara's backstory is also a huge part of the Woman of Tomorrow comic, as she uses her origin story to explain the power of life and death to a young Ruthie. And here we see Ruthie with her father's sword that she plans to use against Krim to avenge her dad's death. In the comics, Krim killed her dad with his own sword and then left it planted in his dead body. And the alien she's sitting next to looks like the same species they sit beside in the comics. And she says,
This does not look like this is gonna end well for you guys.
Which is similar to her line in the comics when she's drunk and meets the mercenary in the bar and tells him, you know, this is probably going to hurt you.
Hey, how come Crypto isn't in the trailer more?
I don't want to spoil the comics, but let's just say he's not in the entire story in the book, but he might be in the movie. But if you guys do want some more Crypto in your life, we do have this "Where's the Dog" shirt in our merch store and tons of new drops for the holidays. We have our new Doug ornament where he looks like Snoopy from the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
I do not approve of using my likeness. I do not want my...
Happy Life Day, Bonesaw versus the Human Spider, a Fox Force 5 t-shirt, and that's my secret. I'm always working with the Hulk hunched over a desk. In addition, we are still running our holiday sale with tons of deals on the store. 40% off all apparel, 15% off collectibles, buy 3 get 1 mug and pint glass, buy 2 shirts, get 1 50% off, and hoodies, hats, and bags are 25% off, 30% off all our Star Wars parody merch and superhero merch, and store-wide all products are 25% off. Basically, if there's a ScreenCrush item you've always wanted, now's the time to buy. Links are below. Now this is Ruthie, played by Eve Riley, and she looks like she is ripped straight from the comics, but the villain Krim looks different. In the book, he looks mostly human, but now he's more alien, with purple skin and dots on his face. Now the purple skin could be a reference to how colorist Matt Lopez shaded Krim in several of the issues, as well as the color of his eyes. Now, while Kara and Ruthie do meet some purple aliens on their space adventure, we think it's less likely that Krim is a Uralian, and it's more likely that his skin color is chosen to reflect his status in the Barban Brigands.
Just say what now?
Okay, so the Barban Brigands are space marauders, and Krim joins them. This means that he is now under their protection, which makes it harder for Kara and Ruthie to capture him. But there is one other purple reference that they could be pulling from here. In issue 3 of the comic, Kara and Ruthie travel to the town of Maypole, which is a quiet city full of blue people. But it's slowly revealed that the planet used to contain blue and purple people, but the blues considered the purples to be like inferior and less than, so they forced them all to live in a place called Purple Town. The Barbando Brigands then invaded and slaughtered all of the purples. So it could be that Krim was originally part of this tribe. Now we do see Kara and Ruthie jump out of a building together, which happens in Maypole in the comics, but this doesn't look like Maypole, so maybe they're switching out the Maypole arc for a planet of space pirates rather than blue people. And then, we finally see him, the main man, Lobo. Guys, this is a special moment for us. For years, every Superman movie featured either just Lex Luthor or Zod as a villain.
Or industrialist Ross Webster.
Right, but we've always wanted to see a villain from Superman's kick-ass roster in the comics, and now we have him, the anti-hero Lobo, who is a space biker and a huge pain in Superman's ass.
The name's Lobo. That's L as in lacerate, O as in obliterate, B as in disembowel, and O as in
Now, Lobo is not in the original Woman of Tomorrow comic, but get this. In an interview with Word Balloon, Tom King revealed that the Woman of Tomorrow comic was originally supposed to include the space biker as Supergirl's counterpart. Now, they ultimately decided to remove him altogether from the storyline and give Kara the opportunity to be the Rooster Cogburn of the series. You know, that was John Wayne and Jeff Bridges' character in the True Grit movies. Now, it would make sense if we're introduced to Lobo at the bar, because that's where he's been introduced in several Superman comics over the years. For instance, in Superman 41, he hears people talking about how tough Superman is, so he flies his space bike to Earth to pick a fight. In the movie, maybe he's the first person that Ruthie approached, and then Supergirl kicks his ass in the bar. And I gotta take a second to just say how perfect this casting is. It is the best comic book movie casting since Patrick Stewart as Professor X. In fact, when James Gunn was named head of this new DC Studios, Jason Momoa texted him saying, "Lobo, baby." So instead of, trying to turn Aquaman into King of the Broshan, Momoa now actually gets to play a character who fits his personality type. Ruthie asks her,
Do others on your planet have powers like you?
and she replies,
No, it's a pretty small group of 2.
referring to her and her cousin. And by the way, I just want to quickly note that this movie is actually the 3rd time we've seen Kara appear in this new DCU. The first was in Superman, and the second was in Peacemaker Season 2 right here. And here we see her looking after a sick Crypto.
I hope the little guy's okay.
Me too, buddy. No spoilers, but I will say that Crypto is a major reason why Kara decides to go on this journey with Ruthie. Now, she's talking about her cousin when she says,
He sees the good in everyone, and I see the truth.
and this is similar to what Lois said about Clark.
You trust everyone and think everyone you've ever met is, like, beautiful.
This sentiment is brought up several times throughout the comic. In issue 2, Kara says she sees everything in a solemn way. Clark tends to look for the good in the situation, but Kara feels burdened by the weight of the truth. In her 23 years, Kara has seen horrors beyond anyone's imagination, and she doesn't sugarcoat life, not even to Ruthie. Here we see Kara flying off into space, which is similar to what happens in the comics. After witnessing the brutality that the brigands have left in their wake, Kara shoots off into a sun where she allows herself to scream and let go of all of the trauma that she's picked up on this adventure. In fact, that sun scene could be her screaming here. And this scene shows Kara swinging a chain at these space pirates, likely the marauding Barbando Brigade that I mentioned a little bit earlier. In her final fight against them in the comic, the pirates actually win, shooting her with kryptonite and then pinning her down with chains just like these. Now, I'm not going to spoil what happens next in case they adapt it for the movie, and in case you can't tell, you should just read the comic. It's really great. And this also looks like the same ship that crashes here in the trailer. And this takes us to this massive intergalactic bus. Now, this is similar to the intergalactic Hall Ferry vessel that Kara and Ruthie used to travel around in the comics while they were still near red suns and Kara was powerless. This could also be the ship that we saw Kara waiting for in the mini teaser that we had over the weekend, which is a nod, of course, to the cover of issue 2 of Woman of Tomorrow. Now, we also see Kara beat down on a barren world, which is a huge part of the comic. When the two first catch up to Krim, he uses magic to send Ruthie and Kara to the planet Barrington. Kara reveals that the planet was originally built for her cousin as a prison, trapping him on a world that zaps all of his powers. She tells Ruthie how Clark barely made it there for 45 minutes before the Justice League rescued him. But then Kara is able to survive on the planet for a whole 9 hours, and she calls Clark a little bitch, just like she did at the end of Superman.
Thanks for watching him, bitch!
This arc not only shows Kara's resilience, but it also gives Ruthie a moment to shine when she fights off every monster that tries to attract Kara while they're trapped. It's interesting to think that Kara could spend a lot of this movie powered down or with no powers at all. James Gunn's movie was all about exploring Superman's weakness, and the original comic book Woman of Tomorrow does the same thing for Supergirl. It's about how, even without her powers, Kara Zor-El's real strength comes from her determination and spirit. As Glenn Weldon said in his unauthorized biography of Superman, his two main characteristics are that he always does the right thing and never gives up. And Kara is the same. Except for Clark, he has that attitude because he grew up with a really nice life on a farm in Kansas. But for Kara, her resilience stems from a place of coping with trauma. She wants to make sure that no other civilization ever has to experience the Holocaust that she witnessed with her own eyes. Living through that kind of hardship is usually the origin story for a villain, but for Kara, this is where she gets her greatest moral strength. Now remember, Peacemaker Season 2 ended with the reveal that the government has created a prison dimension called Salvation where they are sending all of their metahumans. This movie could also be taking part of setting up that arc. Well, like I said earlier, Lobo is always coming to Earth and causing trouble. I mean, I doubt if the DCU would bring him into this franchise for one supporting role in this movie. So what if he comes to Earth to find Supergirl or Superman, and then Argus zaps him into this other dimension? That would mean, in a potential Salvation movie, that we could see Lobo and John Cena play off each other.
Shut up and take my money!
Remember guys, check out our link below for a special discount on Aura frames. It is the perfect gift for the holidays. So what did you guys think of the trailer? Let us know in the comments below, where you can shout us out on Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, or on our free to join Discord server. And big shout out to Lee Mazzio, who co-wrote this video with me. You can find his social links below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.